I have been reading One Piece for all of 3 years now, and I am still not caught up. Less dedicated people have completed it in a year or so, but it's life. I don't know how to tell it to you or how to explain it, but anyway, that's what's happened. So I am determined to not set foot into the new year without being caught up on One Piece. I am on chapter 1059. I have about 72 chapters left and 5 weeks. This video is going to cover chapters 1059 through 1073. Yeah, if you haven't read those, don't watch this. I'm going to do a little bit of a summary. Then I'm going to do a little bit of an analysis, I guess, over the main thing that was pressing me in this arc. And then I'll end with some questions, some reactions, and some predictions on what I think is going to happen next. So, without further ado, I'm going to summarize this arc as fast as possible. Ready and go. We start off in chapter 1059. The Straw Hats are leaving Wano and Yamada behind. Go to Amazon Lily where the Marines are trying to arrest Hancock. Blackbeard is there too. Rayleigh mediates and Blackbeard takes Kobe instead. The story hammers down on how Luffy's dream isn't to become king of the pirates, but instead some more ridiculous and hilarious thing. The island of Lulusia and possibly Sabo get obliterated. The crew goes to Egghead and the plot does that thing where it splits in two and we get double the world building and double the story advancement. Luffy rescues Bonnie. They explore the future island and we learn that Kuma is Bonnie's dad. We're getting set up for a backstory so painful that it'll make us want to say nothing happened. Vegapunk saves all the books from Ohara and Saul is still alive. And we're introduced to Vegapunk and his 6 satellites and the Seraphim. CP0 attacks the island. Vegapunk wants the Straw Hats to take all of him away. Stussy turns on CP0 because she's a clone created by Madza, the same lady who claims that Whitebeard is her baby daddy. CP0 destroyed Sentomaru in an attempt to gain control over the Seraphim. Kizaru is heading to the island and he's Sentomaru's uncle. I wonder what's going to happen there. He has one of the 5 elders with him, which should disrupt things with the Seraphim. Law is fighting Blackbeard. Aokiji is on Blackbeard's crew now. Blackbeard captured Pudding. Kid is on Elbaf. Garp is rescuing Kobe. And Zoro is amazing and I still love him. Vegapunk's character in these chapters really intrigued me because he's been name dropped in this story for a very, very long time. I want to analyze his morality after seeing him move around a bit and kind of getting some general feelings about his character. We've encountered a lot of highly intelligent scientists in the One Piece world already, and the ones that are closest to Vegapunk, the ones from his former Mads group, that's Judge and Queen, they are exceptionally cruel. In order to properly analyze Vegapunk's character within the context of the story, I think we gotta go back to Water 7. So, let's start with kind of the main lesson that Frankie learned. Since Frankie seems very connected to Vegapunk at this point, he idolizes him the same way that Chopper idolized Hogback back in Thriller Bark. Tom told Frankie, "A shipwright should always be proud of his ships. Even if your creations are used for destruction, even if they play a role in your own downfall, you need to own that. That is the weight of pride. That is what it means to be proud of your creations." Tom didn't hide from it. He stood tall even when his creation of the Oro Jackson played a role in his own demise. Frankie learned that lesson and he took it further. He didn't just take pride in what he built, but he also took full responsibility. That's why he destroyed the blueprints for Pluton in Eni's lobby. He knew how dangerous they were just from looking at them, and he was not about to let that kind of power get into the wrong hands. So let's talk about Vegapunk because he seems to be on a completely different wavelength. Vegapunk is all about the possibility of his inventions, not necessarily their purpose or what will happen with them once they're created. You can see an example of this when he talks about his desire to allow humanity to share one brain, and he kind of shrugs off Jinbei's question of what happens when conflicting ideologies crash into each other. He's like, "That's a very important question, but you're gonna stop progress if you keep thinking like that." What? Before you make any progress, shouldn't you ask the tough questions? Otherwise, what are you progressing towards? The Seraphim are Vegapunk's crowning achievement, but they're also an ethical mess. Tragedy, travesty, disaster. It's awful. The Seraphim embody the exploitation of the Lunarians, the 7 warlords, and impel down prisoners, and yet Vegapunk views them as a testament to scientific achievement. Using human experimentation just to move forward with science, it's pretty bad. The world government, who Vegapunk already knows is not trustworthy. Same world government that destroyed Ohara, the same world government that is going against everything that you believe in by trying to hide history and hide progress and all of that. He built the Seraphims for them, and now they're using them to do whatever they want, i.e. capture warlords, and who knows what else. But Vegapunk is still proud. Why? Because he considers them to be the highest echelon of science achievable, the strongest form of humanity. It is his ability to create a person, people that are very incredibly strong, very incredibly strong. He's proud of his achievement, not necessarily what his achievement is being used for. Bonnie calls his pursuit of knowledge greedy, and she is on to something. His greed is not materialistic, but it is intellectual greed. He prioritizes the discovery over the ethical consideration of who benefits and who suffers. Vegapunk does not have a line like Frankie did with Pluton. When it comes to questions like, should I be doing this? He's already on to the next thing. He's done it already. What's the next breakthrough? It's not about whether something is right, it's about whether something is possible. And this is what makes him so different from Tom and Frankie. They owned the consequences of their creations. Vegapunk will slap a failed experiment sticker on it so quick, and he'll just move on in order to make more progress towards the next thing. How do I know this? Why am I making this judgment? Because we've heard about him for so long. He leaves his crap all over the place. He has an abandoned lab at Katakuri, his hometown where Frankie landed. It had all of that research on it, enough for Frankie to upgrade his whole entire body. He has an abandoned lab at Punk Hazard that Caesar was still in. Caesar, the worst babysitter in the world, maybe found some of his notes, possibly. It's not out of the question. He was in the same lab, and he's trying to leave Egghead right now. He has stuff there, and he's just gonna leave it. And like, he may be the smartest person in the world, but he's not the only smart person in the world. Some people can read his notes and understand them, and the fact that he's just leaving it out in the open for anybody is irresponsible. So where does Vegapunk fall on the mad scientist spectrum? Is he really all that different from Judge, Queen Caesar, or dare I say Hogback? Judge is proud of his cruelty. He thinks manipulating his kids is peak parenting. Queen, meanwhile, enjoys his malicious science as a form of personal entertainment. Caesar revels in destruction and suffering, creating tools like the smiles with explicit intent to harm and control others. And Hogback is a grave-robbing necrophiliac. Hogback justified his grotesque work with zombies as the pinnacle of medical science, dismissing the humanity of the corpses that he was mutilating. Like Hogback, Vegapunk focuses on what can be done rather than what should be done. And even though Vegapunk is not cruel and has good intentions, or does not have bad intentions, whichever side that you want to say, it is his irresponsibility and failure to consider the consequences of his actions that makes him just as dangerous as all of the other mad scientists in One Piece. Ultimately, Vegapunk embodies the double-edged nature of scientific progress. He represents the best and worst aspects of innovation, the ability to create wonders, and the capacity for unintended destruction. Frankie and Tom are his narrative foils. They both understand that true pride in creation requires accountability, not just pride in creation. Because sometimes it's not about how smart you are or what you can create. Sometimes it's about knowing when to stop. In Vegapunk, as much as he already knows, I think that's the one lesson that he hasn't learned. Reaction time. So, questions I have in this arc about what's happened and what's going on. Number one, I think we hadn't seen this before, but what is Aokiji doing on Blackbeard's crew? Like, how did this happen? Like, the last we heard from him, he had fought homeboy Akainu, Sakazuki, whatever. Like, I wonder if he's being blackmailed. I wonder if he truly believes in Blackbeard's sort of chaotic purpose that's going on right now. I don't know. It's kind of like, what are you doing? Because they they've captured Kobe. They took Kobe. They captured Pudding. And Blackbeard wanted Boa Hancock's power. What is Blackbeard gonna do with Boa Hancock's power? Like, her beauty is like the whole thing to it. And I like, the only thing I can think of is if Blackbeard turned people to stone and then quaked them apart and everything. But he already has 2 of them, 2 devil fruits, which we didn't think was possible, but apparently he can get another one now, so that's fun. The next thing is, it said that Kuma was from a special race of people, and I'm wondering what that race is. Maybe he's part Lunarian because he doesn't have the wings or the white hair or the flames, but he does have brown skin. And there aren't that many brown-skinned people in One Piece, just saying. I don't know. When Fujitora was talking about abolishing the 7 warlords of the sea, I'm wondering if he knew about the Seraphim. If he knew that they were a possible consideration, if they were being developed or anything like that. Because with the Seraphim, the world government has taken the power of the 7 warlords and they've taken their autonomy and created this hierarchical system of control with them. And are they, like, my question is, are they making Seraphim for all of the warlords because we only have about 4 right now? Do they have any more Lunarians that are alive that they are still testing on or anything like that? Is King dead? Because that would kind of suck. Because it would be cool if we could hear from him again about all this. Yeah, and he seemed like he wasn't a bad guy either. So it would be cool if King could weigh in and come to the good side now that Kaido's KO'd. I also just realized that if King is dead, then that means that Zoro literally just ended a race. An entire race in this series. And it's the only known race of black people. So there you have it. Vegapunk called one more person on Egghead before things kind of ramped up. I'm wondering who he called. Who would he be able to call that would help with CP0? Don't know. I guess we'll find out soon. And the last thing, it's not like a question, but it's more of a statement. I'm so happy that Saul is alive because it made Robin happy, and Robin's happy face makes me happy. Prediction time. My predictions going forward. Sabo cannot be dead. That's not going to be a thing because you already killed the super cool older brother. You can't kill the long lost brother too because that's just messed up. Frankie is going to get into an argument of some sort with Vegapunk once he figures out what he's actually doing, or that he doesn't care about what he's doing, something like that. I think they're going to have like a falling out, kind of like Chopper did with Hogback a little bit. I don't know if Frankie's going to fight Vegapunk or fight some of the Vegapunks. But this seems to be a pretty quick and compact arc so far based on how quickly everything is moving. We're already fighting now. I don't see Frankie being isolated fighting all the Vegapunks. I see the crew helping too, so maybe the crew and the Vegapunks get into skirmish? I don't know. And I think Kizaru's going to be mad that Sentomaru is hurt. He might be conflicted with ZP0 and what they've done. Or it could be Garp all over again with Ace and everything. So who knows? Maybe he doesn't care about his nephew. And the last thing, the elder that's with Kizaru is going to take control of the Seraphim. The Seraphim are going to turn on the crew and the Vegapunks and all of that. That's just like, you wouldn't establish the hierarchy and put the elders at the top and have an elder show up in that space without... Okay, literally, my camera battery, or my camera's internal temperature got too high and it stopped recording, so that's fun. But, as I was saying, you don't establish the hierarchy of the Seraphim control and put the elders at the top and then have an elder show up on the island where the Seraphim are and not have the elder take control over the Seraphim. It's a smoking gun. He's going to get to them eventually and they're all going to turn on the crew and everybody else who's there. But yeah, anyway, that is what I think about this so far. I'm excited to not know things about the story anymore. And I'll see you guys next week where I'll be covering chapters 1074 through... Next week, I'm going to cover chapters 1074 through 1087. All right, well, that's all that I have so far. I hope you have an awesome week. I've been Meanie Mosey, and I'll catch you guys next time. Bye.